She got a smile that seems to me reminds me of childhood memories where everything was as fresh as the bright blue sky. And now and then when I see her face, she takes me away to that special place. And if I stare too long, I'll probably break down and cry. Oh, 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 sweet child of mine. Oh, 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 sweet love of mine. Hey, how you doing? Justin here. Today we're going to be looking at the kind of basic rhythm arrangement of all of the chords and stuff for Sweet Child of Mine by Guns N' Roses. The point of this lesson is, one, to give beginners a way of playing through the whole song, and secondly, to explain the harmonies that are going on in the song, either behind the solo or in the rest of the tune, because there's a lot of layers going on in this song. It's a big song, right? There's a great guitar playing in it, but also great production as well. Lots of different layers of stuff where you hear a lead guitar part, a rhythm guitar part, a second rhythm guitar part, an acoustic guitar part, sometimes further layers of clean stuff, so clean guitar parts. So one of the things I think is really important if you're learning this song, whether you're a beginner and you just want to play it and sing along, or whether you're doing a more in-depth study and you're planning on learning all the solos and stuff, you really need to understand harmonically what's going on in the song and what's being played, and learning to look at it in blocks, which is what we're going to be talking about mostly today. So luckily there's not that many of them actually. It's a fairly easy arrangement to pick out. So certain chord progressions repeated X number of times. But what you want to do after you've learned this basic sequence is listening through to the original recording and checking out the two guitar parts. I think Izzy's usually on the left and Slash is on the right, but there's trying to listen out for the different parts is a really, really good way of advancing your guitar skills and picking out which bits of it you might like to play if you're playing it on your own. And if you're fortunate enough to be playing it in a band with two guitar parts, trying to work out who does what parts when is a very fun exercise. So the first chord sequence, very, very important, is 2 bars of D, 2 bars of C, 2 bars of G, and back to 2 bars of D. Okay, so it's an 8-bar chord sequence. That's the chords that are being played underneath the main riff at the beginning. Okay, so the first time through that 8 bars, it's just the guitar on its own, and the guitar comes in the last bar there, or last 2 bars on the D chord with a little build, where you okay, it's just gradually getting louder and louder. Again, listening to the way that the way this same chord sequence is played in different parts. So the very first time through, it's not played. It's a little bit more random. It's not got a set rhythm kind of pattern to it. It's played and then picking out some notes individually. But let's just go through and make sure that we're hip with the sequence first. So the first sequence, if we just do 4 down strums to the bars, so we'd have the 1, this a D chord for 2 bars, then a C chord. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4 to a G chord. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and back to D. 2, 2, 3, 4. Okay, now straight away I want to give you another couple of chord options here, which are much more kind of hip, like the original chord sequence. First chord D just stays the same, but really for the C chord, in this era, people didn't tend to play C chord much. It was nearly always this C add 9, which is nothing on the thicker string, then 3rd fret, 2nd fret, open, 3rd fret, 3rd fret. So the fingers 3 and 4 on the thinnest 2 strings at the 3rd fret. Okay, really good sounding C chord. So that would be a much more common way of playing the C. And to get to the G chord, then it's very easy. Just 1st and 2nd fingers move toward the sky, 1 string. You've got a big 4-finger, what I call the rock G. 3rd fret, 2nd fret, open, open, 3rd fret, 3rd fret. Okay? And then back to D. So that sequence right away. The first time through is just the lead guitar. The second time through, it's kind of, I call them splangs. So it's like 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. The next time is, it's not exactly that sequence again all of the way through, but it's very much that kind of groove. You can hear the drums and the bass picking up on it as well. And it says 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4. Down, 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 down. Now it's not so much I'm putting a hit here, but it's because I'm by myself, I want to hear that backbeat, but it's not so defined as that as putting a mute on. But it's definitely this 1, 2, and 3, 4, 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 1, 2, and 3. But it's, you know, it sounds funny that straight to play it like that, but that's a good starting point. Like I'm going to say this probably 1,000 times this video, you've got to listen to the original recording. And it's that same sequence then into the verses as well. So exactly the same chord sequence, all of the verses are the same, 2 bars of D, 2 bars of C, 2 bars of G, 2 bars of D, that whole 8-bar sequence repeated twice around each verse, okay? And one of the things that you want to be listening out for again is how it varies when you're playing the song. How, if you're listening to the arrangement and you want to try and copy some of those ideas, having a listen to the way the rhythm's played, what rhythm is played, how many times a note's picked out, okay? On the right speaker you'll hear in what I assume is Slash playing, clean chorus sound, so using the chorus effect if you've got one available, a chorus pedal. And he's picking out individual notes. So he's just playing the chords, it's not fingerpick, it's like... I call it picked finger style. It's in my intermediate course, how to do this kind of thing. So all I'm doing really is picking 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and playing the bass note of the chord on beat 1, and really any other strings as I kind of fancy it, really. I'm sure there would be set patterns that you could discover for yourself if you listen to the original recording and try and copy that. And one thing that I just noticed that I'm doing that I should explain as well is on the D chord, there's a lot of D sus4 goes on in this song. So just playing a regular D chord and adding little finger on the 3rd fret of the thinner string. Also sus2 a bit, where you lift off your 2nd finger of the D chord. Okay, so you can experiment yourself on which way you use that, or listen to the original recording. Also remember that this sequence could be bar chords as well, so you could be going D chord this way. Very rock and roll then. It sounds straight away, it changes the character of it. There's definitely some open chord stuff going on the original recording as well, but you can hear just using those bar chord grips gives it a little bit more punch and makes it sound a little bit more rock and roll, you know. So that's definitely something to be, something that you should be considering as well. So it's that chord sequence there, that 8-bar sequence twice through for the first verse, then we're into the chorus. Now the chorus, the chords change, it's 1 bar of A, 1 bar of C, and 2 bars of D. Oh, 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 sweet child of mine. Again, using that sus chord if you want. Now the rhythm I was doing there is 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3, 4, 1, 2, and 3. Could you again be using this sort of power chords, little bar chords if you want, either one of those. Okay, so it's well worth exploring the way that you play these chords. Again, the sequence is really simple, just A, C, D, D, A, C, D, D. That's it, that's the chorus, a little 8-bar chord sequence. In the solo, the first solo, we go back to that original chord sequence, so D, D, C, C, G, G, D, D. Okay, the first... That first one of those lead guitar solos is taking that same chord sequence that we had at the beginning, okay? It's really important that you get that. Then we're into the verse, 2nd verse, and we've got another twice through that same 8-bar sequence again. So still going D, D, excuse me, D, D, C, C, G, G, D, D. Again, whole sequence round twice through for the verse. Then we got a chorus again. Now the chorus is that same 4-bar sequence, which was A, C, D, D, twice through. Then we're at solo 2, the second solo, which also starts the same one as that. That is the same 8-bar sequence again as the introduction, but the whole 8-bar sequence twice, so it's quite a long solo. And then we've got the chorus sequence, that 4-bar sequence times 4, so it's you might think of it as like a double chorus. So that's the main structure of the songs up until the main solo. Now the main solo, things change just a little bit. The arrangement becomes ever so slightly more complicated, but not much. So the main solo starts over this chord sequence, which is E minor for a bar, to C for a bar, to B, to A minor. Okay, that's the sequence. E minor, da 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 and then we're into that super wicked wah-wah kick-off riff. So that sequence, E minor, C, B, which you're going to have to play as a bar chord. If you're a real beginner and you want to try and get through this without bar chords, you could change it to B7, which you can play as an open chord. And it kind of sounds right, it is that tonality, but I think it just sounds a bit more rock and roll to play regular B. And then to an A minor, and it plays through that sequence. I think it's 4 times, and the very last time there's an extra bar of A minor. Okay, so after you've played through that sequence the 4 times, there's another bar of A minor, which is where Slash is doing that killer wah-wah fast riff thing, which we'll be covering in a future lesson for shizzle. And after that extra bar of A minor, we go into another new chord sequence, which is E minor, G, A, C, D, G note, E minor again. Okay, so again you can play it open chords, E minor to G, to A, C, D, and there's just a little G note going down. So you could kind of play a G chord. It sounds a bit odd to do that, but let me straighten the rhythm. So E minor, G, A, 2, 3, 4, C, D, G, E minor. Okay, so it's kind of a little bit tricky there just at the end. A, 2, 3, 4, C, C, D, G. Okay, the actual rhythm makes it kind of puts it in context better, which is this 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4, 1 and 2, 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4, 2 and 3, 4, 1, 2 and 3, 4, and 2, 3, 4, 1. Okay, just 2 on the C chord, 1 and 2. Beat 3 takes the D chord. Beat 4 is just the G note. I'm using my second finger to play the 3rd fret of the thicker string. Okay, you can make it as difficult or as easy as you like, depending on your ability level, and I think that's important. The only other bit in that we haven't really covered, there's just one little bit where we go, no, 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 which is simply 7th fret on the 5th string, 5th fret, 5th string, then 7, 6, 5, 3 on the thicker string. Still the same, it's all riffing the same along. Okay, so that's pretty much the whole song. But of course there's a lot more going on in this song than just that. But what I really recommend you do is you learn an acoustic strumming version where you can play through the whole song. Okay, keeping the rhythm real simple, but learning what the arrangement is, what chords are happening where. Because if you're planning on learning the rest of the song and learning all the solos, which I think is a fantastic thing to be doing for this song, such an incredible song with so many different layers and interesting things going on, you really need to build a solid foundation and understand the song, what the chords are, what the arrangement is, how it all kind of pulls itself together. Now, just to talk a little bit about what's going on harmonically in the song, D, C, G, D, okay, it sounds like it's in the key of D, okay, because that's where home feels. But the chords D, C and G actually belong in the key of G. So the notes that you would play would probably be over the D, C, G, D section, and the notes that Slash is choosing to play when he's doing his solos are usually based around this G major scale, but we're basing it around the tonal center of D. Now, the clever clogs among you might know that kind of calls it D mixolydian. Okay, might be the proper technical name for what's going on in this song. But really, you just want to think of it as the chords are all belonging to the G major scale, so we're using the notes of the G major scale. Just our ears tell us that it's kind of harmonically it's hanging around D. In the chorus, we've got the chords A, C and D. And the chords A and C don't belong together in any key. So what you find if Slash is ever playing over chords that don't belong in the same key, he's very good at playing off of the chords individually. So he demonstrates that very clearly when we look at the way that he adapts the riff, the main riff, to fit over the chorus. Very clever. I'm not sure how Slash's musical education is in his understanding of harmony, but his ears definitely understand harmony real well, really, really well. He's got a fantastic sense of arrangement and tonality. It's very, very clever. But you don't tend to solo over that chord sequence, so you don't have to worry too much about the harmonies, but you would have to be thinking chordally then to play over the A and the C and the D as individual chords. The main solo is this chord sequence E minor, C, B7 and A minor. So this is kind of hanging around in our key of E minor now, okay? And if you're thinking of E minor, the relative major of E minor is G major. So you would have the same chords as G major. The one difference that you have when you talk about E minor is that it would have a B chord, a B major chord or a B7. This comes from the harmonic minor scale, which is a device that Slash is using a little bit in this solo. Once you start learning the solo, the key thing to look out for is the way that he's using the note D sharp. So again, for real beginners, just gloss over this stuff. It's not that important, but more advanced guitar players that are learning this as a proper study piece, when you're learning the solo, check out what notes are being played over what chords, and you'll see that when he's playing over the B7 that we get a few of these D sharp notes, because it's the one note that changes between the G major scale, which would be the same as the E pure minor scale, and the E harmonic minor scale. It's the kind of the key note to watch out for when it changes. The later part of the solo, once he's kicked his wah off and he's got the E minor, G, A and the C, D going back to E minor thing, this is a lot more kind of E blues vibe, because the chords aren't harmonically comfortable together. A and C, the chord A major and the chord C major, don't belong together in any key. But in blues, you often get things that are not kind of theoretically correct, but they sound fantastic anyway. And that's a really good example in this song, having that riff, the E minor, G, A, C, D, G little note there at the end. When he's soloing over that, it's real kind of E blues kind of vibe is what he's going for in that section of the song, and he kills it, man. It's fantastic. So this is a fairly big lesson, okay? What are the things I've talked about? I'm going to put notes on the website for all of this related stuff, because there's a lot of different things that I've talked about. The big things that I think you want to take out of it is chunking, so learning just the little chord sequences and then learning how to arrange them to create the song, right? Rather than trying to think of a song as being a whole bunch of unrelated chords, you want to look for little patterns and the way they repeat. I really strongly recommend that you learn to play along either an acoustic guitar or electric with a clean sound, and just be able to play along through the whole recording, just to make sure that you really understand the arrangement and how it's going on, particularly if you want to continue moving forward and learning the more difficult parts of the song and the solos. I will revisit it and look at some more of the specific rhythm parts that are going on, but it's a great idea, a great exercise for you is to go through and do some of that research yourself. So really try and focus on either the left guitar or the right guitar and work out what they're doing, how they're doing it, what's the rhythm pattern, how are they building it, because that's something else in this song. It's incredibly well arranged, like the way that the sections build and then drop into, the where should we go, where can we go now, that little section. Same chord sequence as going on before, but it just drops right down to nothing, and it's just really, really wonderfully arranged piece of music, this. So try and keep your ear out for that and absorb that bigger picture, because it'll really make I think a massive difference to your guitar playing, probably, if you start to observe at that higher level kind of picture of the song before we start getting into more minutiae of the solos and the parts that are going on and the different layers. So I really hope you enjoy that stuff. Do go and check out all the extra info on the website, and please subscribe to my YouTube channel if you dig what I do. I really appreciate your support, and I'll see you for plenty more very soon. Y'all take care of yourselves. Bye bye.